and you've done the weeds. Looking all grown.
All right. It's 12 minutes before 10 at KROC AM. That's why we have attorneys.
Well,
tell your friend to go get an attorney.
I'm not sure because I think she was engaged with her phone because she looked at it. She
must have done more than a look.
Well, she checked her phone.
Well, you can check your phone. So, you're still allowed.
So you can look at it, but you can't push a button?
Nope, you can push buttons because you can call. So it's a little bit of an issue in terms of the way the law is structured. So, right now they're doing extra enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to keep people off their phones. You can't engage the internet, okay? You can't text.
Oh, she engaged the internet.
So was she looking at the internet?
She was looking at her Facebook.
At
the stoplight.
That would be a potential problem.
But this is what I'm saying. I thought that...
Did you just throw her under the bus on radio?
No, because I'm not saying her name.
You're not saying her name. Okay,
nope.
Fair enough.
But there was a trooper who was in a parking lot monitoring the intersection. And then I went and I thought, that's just... I can't believe... I'm glad that they're helping to encourage people to not be distracted.
Absolutely.
But I went and looked at an article, and they're working in tandem, and they're like up in dump trucks, and they're monitoring. They're sitting next to people at intersections and then saying, this woman in this car right here is looking at Facebook.
Yep.
And so that's probably, because I thought, how can he know that she logged on to social media while she's sitting at a stoplight? But that's how they know.
Yeah, and the law is good. Don't get me wrong. I understand.
Oh, and that's what I said. She's not going to fight it because she knows that she was wrong.
Right. It's a great thing. Avoid distracted driving. Avoid accidents. Avoid bad things like this. The potential bad things that can occur. But the law, you can make a phone call. You can engage your phone. You can dial on your phone. You can't text. You can't email. You can't use the internet. You can't use those types of functions on your phone, and that's one of the difficult things that I think law enforcement is going to have. And you just made mention of, well, they're putting themselves in a position so they can see what they're doing. In a typical circumstance, it's difficult for law enforcement to be able to say, yes, you were on the internet, or because technically they're not going to be able to get your phone, without a warrant.
Right.
And so, it's
they have to be able to see.
They would have to be able to see. In fact,
that's interesting.
Zach handled a case that ultimately was dismissed. It was at night, and what happened is...
Can you hold on just a second?
Absolutely.
The following program on KROC is sponsored and paid for by Meshbesher Spence.
Andrew Davick from Meshbesher Spence joins us on KROC
We might as well
AM.
just
By the way,
into this.
It's going to be sunny and 70 today, 56 now.
There we go. Okay, Zach just handled the case. What?
So Zach had a case, and I wasn't involved, but my understanding of the circumstances that the gentleman was pulled over for DUI. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, the case was dismissed, I believe, or there was some sort of a lesser plea. But the phone lit up. It was at night. So the officer could see that the phone lit up. The problem is, why did the phone light up? If somebody calls you, your phone, the iPhone, is going to light up, even if you don't engage the phone, and you are allowed to make calls. They have not taken that away. The only exception is, if you have a CDL, if you're driving a commercial vehicle, you have to be on a hands-free device. So you can't be holding your phone or engaging your phone directly.
All right. Well, in a nutshell, just put the phone down and answer the call later.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Talk later.
Enjoy the weather. Enjoy your drive time.
Roll down the window.
Baseball.
Down the window.
Let's talk
Look
about
at the people walking down the... Oh, don't do that
No,
either.
don't do that,
That's distraction.
No.
The main topic we were going to talk about today is jury selection.
Sure.
And
if someone is
works.
distracted by their cell phone while you're selecting the jury, you probably don't want that person, or you do want that person.
Put your cell phone away during jury selection.
That might be a little bit of an issue.
Excuse me, Judge. Yeah. Bread? Okay. Milk?
Milk, yes.
That might get you escorted in either out or in a different direction.
Yeah.
If you were to do that, depending on the judge.
So don't do that as a ploy to get out of jury duty.
No, that'll get you in trouble. In fact, that may get you locked into being
I was
there all
going to say,
week.
if you try any sort of, if you really don't want to be seated on a jury, you have to be pretty adept and very, very slight at getting yourself excused. Because if you try to get yourself excused, you're in.
It's, you hear about that all the time. People will, and we see it. I mean, I've had civil cases where you can tell pretty early on that the people have no desire to be there, and it's tough as a lawyer. It's important for people to be able to serve, their civic duty and engage in the process. But if you have somebody, especially in my world where I'm coming in front of a jury and I'm asking people to award money to my clients, if I have somebody who clearly doesn't want to be there, I'm not sure I want them making the decision as to, how much money my client potentially is going to be awarded, because they're probably going to be annoyed with me. They want to get out of there. They don't want to have to stick around. So.
Yeah. All right. So what type of a commitment is it if somebody's called for jury duty now? Are they on call for a month, or is it a certain period of time?
It depends. I mean, it depends on if you're in federal court or if you're in state court.
I think federal was 2 years. I was on a potential,
Lord.
I think if once you get called on a jury, then you're done.
Then you're done.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
But it would be, you'll be in the pool for 2 years or whatever.
And that's true in the federal system. In the state system, that's not necessarily true. You can serve on a jury, and you can still be potentially called back during that same term. The jury blocks differ from county to county. You may be there for a week. You may be on call. You may be on call for 2 weeks. And typically what happens is, you got to dial into one of those like phone systems, and lets you know if you got to come in. So you come in the morning, and they do a sort of a jury education process where you watch a video and they talk to you about the importance of the process and what you got to do and the rules and the regulations and how not to screw it up. And then you potentially get drawn into the pool. So like in a typical civil case, we may have 20 to 25 people who are part of our pool of jurors, and that gets narrowed down to 11. Sometimes I'm not exactly sure how they do the randomization in terms of picking those 11 folks that are going to sit right in the jury box. One county, they actually had the old school like lottery balls. They literally they roll the thing around and the number pops out.
Wow.
And then you get seated. But we seat 11 in a civil case. So they sit down. You have 11, and then you go through that process of voir dire, or what was the Joe Pesci movie? I want to voir dire the witness.
The voir dire.
My cousin Vinny.
Right.
I want to voir dire the witness. But, so you go through this voir dire process, and you ask questions, and you're trying to determine who's best suited to sit on that jury for your client.
Well, I've gone through it once, and I was seated on a jury, and that was a federal case in South Dakota, but not been called here. And I was hearing yesterday on Sports Talk with Patrick Royce, who's on there. He's 70 years old. He said he's never been called once.
Wow.
Never been issued once for jury duty. And I'm one.
He would get kicked out, I bet.
He probably, that's what he said.
Well, because he works for a newspaper.
I know who's guilty right off the bat anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but it's because he works for a newspaper. Wouldn't that be why he would get kicked out?
Well, that might be one, but I worked at a radio
justification.
station, but the question they posed to you, the question they posed to you was, do you think you're able to judge non-biasedly? Are you capable of making it a rational decision, essentially, is what they said. And what are you going to say? No.
Right. Can you be fair and impartial?
I'm sitting there, shoot.
Yeah.
Question like that is unfair. Yes.
I don't know. This guy looks a lot like my brother-in-law.
But the question didn't come up whether I was involved with the media or not. Well, and they did know, but then they asked, I said, no, I can render a fair decision on this.
Right. Typically, there's some biographical information that you receive. We'll get information as to where you're employed or where your spouse is employed. So we'll have that information. We may ask further questions about that,
I mean, I didn't know anything about the case beforehand anyway. It was on an Indian reservation, so it was...
And the judge will typically give you some information to be able to determine if there's any obvious conflicts. Do you know the parties? Do you know the lawyers? Do you know the folks involved in the case? And that might get you kicked off right away for cause. Otherwise, you go through the process, you ask questions, you try to figure out if this is somebody who potentially is going to be a good fit for the case.
Yeah.
And make decisions from there.
If you do get a call for jury duty, don't shirk your duty.
Absolutely.
Go ahead and go through it and stop complaining.
Absolutely.
If you need an attorney, like if you've been looking at your cell phone,
yes,
whatever.
Got pulled over.
You think
for
you
looking
got
at
pulled
Facebook.
over for the wrong thing, or
I've got a
anything
great
else?
status. I need to post it.
How do they get in touch with you?
Well, you can stop by our office or here in Rochester, or give us a call at 1-800-845-1021, or go to meshbesher.com.
Excellent. Andrew Davick, Meshbesher and Spence. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.